Crystal Brumfield, welcome to the IAEOZ 2022 Summit. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. You are the Associate Administrator for the Office of the Government-Wide Policy. What does your role entail before we jump into this conversation?
Oh, wow. So much, right? So much is built into the title. OGP is what we call it for short. As the Associate Administrator for OGP, I'm also designated as the agency's Chief Acquisition Officer, which means in short that we really direct buying. But in OGP, it's an area of focus around many different policies. So it's travel and transportation, it's evaluation science, it's also assets, both real and personal property, including buildings, green buildings, and acquisition policy, and the acquisition workforce, and how do we train that workforce. So it's a mixed bag of nuts, and it includes so many different areas.
Well, let's focus a bit on your relationship with HBCUs and how you want to support them and so forth. Take it away.
Sure. So I guess I'll begin by mentioning that I'm a Chief Acquisition Officer and the Associate Administrator, but I wear a couple of different hats. I represent the agency as the representative for the White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity through the historically Black colleges and universities. And so as a part of that, we have developed a strategy whereby GSA really focuses on 4 strategic things to help increase opportunities for HBCUs. In addition to that role, Tim, I also serve as the co-chair of the agency's equity team, in which we are focused on the president's executive orders around DEIA and advancing opportunities for minorities and underserved communities.
Oh, wonderful. That's awesome. And this role means so much to you, I can tell. Tell us what you're looking forward to specifically in this role.
Sure. So first I'll start off by saying how passionate I am about HBCUs. I'm a 2-time graduate of an HBCU, Southern University and the Southern University Law Center. And it really has made me and built me into the person that I've become. Going to an HBCU has given me the confidence that I have. It has grounded me, and it's really given me the voice that I needed to become an adult and a professional. And so I start there, Tim, as the focus of why this is so important to me as a professional and as an individual. And through that, we've been able to work together at GSA to, as I mentioned before, come up with an agency plan to see what is GSA's contribution to the HBCU community. And it's really fourfold. One, we want to increase opportunities, the number of HBCUs who are on the multiple award schedule. Everyone knows and understands GSA to be the government's buyer. And in fact, the federal government spends over $500 billion every year in buying goods and services. And GSA, in large part, assists most agencies towards that buy, in addition to our own spend. And so we want to make sure that HBCUs are a part of that marketplace, this huge multi-billion-dollar marketplace that is the federal marketplace. And a large part of that spend happens in what we call the multiple award schedule vehicle, or MAS for short. And so it's so incumbent on HBCUs to be on that schedule, because that's their opportunity and door and entryway into this federal marketplace. And so GSA supports the HBCU community and small businesses alike by ensuring that they are provided opportunities to compete for these opportunities. We're also committed to boosting HBCU's participation in federal contracting, and we believe that this multiple award schedule is that pathway to helping HBCUs to get started in this arena. And so one of the key goals is to educate HBCUs on the benefits of the MAS program, so that they can become an active player in it. And they're already doing some of the things and providing some of these services already, but they just need to focus on the federal marketplace. Some of the things that HBCUs are already doing, right? They're already providing IT support services. They're already doing research and development, and that's something that the federal government that we buy. They're already providing medical services and administrative and management support, education and training, call centers, and data processing. And we just want to make sure that that as a part of their revenue stream and as a part of their strategic plan, the federal government is a part of that. And then the second goal that I'll highlight of GSA is to increase the success of these small business, these HBCUs, excuse me, once they're on the schedule, to provide them training on how to utilize this vehicle so that they can actually gain some real work. And so we directly support HBCUs once they're on the MAS schedule through training opportunities, so that we provide this one-on-one support through our contract specialists, and we provide these trainings that cover topics such as marketing, how to market to the federal government, and this provides advanced techniques for marketing their goods and services, which in some cases is very different from how to market to a commercial buyer. And so we want to make sure that we're providing that knowledge to our HBCU partners. And then our third goal as a part of our strategic plan and strategy is to improve the knowledge of procurement opportunities and collaboration between our HBCUs and our federal agencies by using industry days. And so we want to build these real concrete relationships and make these connections so that we can exchange services, exchange knowledge, and also skills and capabilities. And so these connections, it's a two-way street, right? And so it goes between the federal government and it flows back to the HBCUs, where we're sharing knowledge and information around the services that HBCU provide to each other. So in addition to encouraging the HBCUs to use the market and to access this government market, we want to make sure that the government has the services that can benefit the growth and enhancement and advancement of HBCUs. So I'll give you a quick example of this. Okay. GSA offers several programs and services to state agencies and to universities that HBCUs can access. Those include disaster purchases. We're seeing a lot of disasters across the country, and HBCUs can take advantage of that, as well as personal property donation programs that we have. We have a number of assets that we have that HBCUs can access through our donation property program. And so we want to share that information to HBCUs so that they can get some of those assets and use them on their campuses. And also there's the cooperative purchasing program that HBCUs can access as well. And then the fourth goal is around, and this is something that is so special to me, is creating a pathway for students so that we partner with our HBCUs to promote career opportunities for interns. And so there's a great opportunity for individuals to have a career in the public sector that not many people often think about. A career in government can be very rewarding, and it can provide a pathway to career development and advancement. And so GSA has committed to a diverse workforce. We want the people who work at our agencies to look like the country. And we want to embed diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility as key drivers in the work that we do, starting with the people that carries out our mission. And so at GSA, we have a national recruitment team that engages with HBCUs on a regular basis, that helps promote our internship opportunities, our job openings, and of course, our career fairs that are available on an ongoing basis. And we are excited to reach out and partner with these HBCUs to create this pathway to career opportunities for our HBCU graduates.
You know, when you think about the small businesses, MBEs that come from backgrounds where they were disadvantaged, what would you say to them or any HBCU potential partner on how to really thrive and access the relationship with you?
Yeah. So as I stated earlier, I'm passionate about this, really about opening up doors for the marginalized, to open up doors for those who have been who've experienced barriers, and those individuals and businesses from underserved communities. And so one such way of doing this work is through a newly created GSA Acquisition Policy Federal Advisory Committee, which the Office of Government-Wide Policy, my office, has just stood up. And this is a way for us to leverage the expert advice on innovative solutions to acquisition policies, to workforce, and to industry partnership challenges, of which we may tackle issues in climate and sustainability and in equity and procurement. There are areas of acquisition policy that deserves to have the expert advice of individuals who we, the government, have often not gotten the expert advice from, right? And so this advisory committee really serves as an opportunity and a gateway to really get the insight, the advice, and the counsel from individuals who understand how to sell, but need to help us understand as a government how to connect with different industry partners. And then the second way is I would highly encourage every business, small business, to work closely with our Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. This helps to ensure that our policies and our regulations don't create these barriers to access into information that's critical for underserved communities. So, specifically, I'd like to share that we're taking 5 actions to advance equity and to increase our supply diversity in the federal buying. So first, we're establishing a new government-wide IT contract that's called Polaris. And this helps us to increase the small disadvantaged business representation through this program. We're also making it easier for small businesses to get a long-term government contract and improve our supplier education using human-centered design to create a pathway to this type of government contract. And then the third thing we've done is we're focusing on creating a post-award engagement strategy so that we can help our contractors who are new to government be successful in government contracting. The fourth way is that we've created a supplier diversity plan so that we can promote successful outcomes for our vendors, which includes a regular on-ramping opportunity for IT contracts and for other multi-agency contracts. This creates, again, a new marketplace for many businesses, particularly around climate and sustainability, which most businesses just have not operated in. And so we're focusing on that. We're focusing on making sure that we are holding ourselves accountable for meeting these plans and these goals. And we absolutely intend to do so. And then the final action or activity is that we want to make sure that we're enhancing our online tools so that small disadvantaged businesses can better evaluate the federal marketplace and know where the opportunities are coming from, right? So there's a forecast so that they can see in a one-stop shop where those opportunities are ahead. And so on that note, I want to say that we're just super thrilled to also be selected or named by the Professional Services Council as a model for success. So GSA is an agency that has a model for success for our business forecasting tool for 2022. And so we're super excited about that accomplishment, but we want everyone to know that we're super committed to increasing our opportunities for our HBCUs and also for our small businesses.
Crystal Brumfield, thank you so much for the work you guys are doing. And anyone out there listening, streaming, please go to gsa.gov/ search small business, and we will see you. We are tracking you, and we're following the work you're doing. And we're just really, really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So again, just real quickly, I'm the director of the Global Diversity Export Initiative. That's the role that I've been playing for the past year or so. And my job really is to promote the work that we do in underserved communities. One of the things that we know is companies that export grow faster, and you're also less likely to go out of business because you've diversified your customer base. And you know, when the US economy is not doing well, a lot of companies look outside of our borders to find customers and to find partners, but it really should be a part of your ongoing business strategy. Because that way, when things do go south in the US, you know, 95% of the world's consumers are outside of our borders. So you could sustain your business better. And again, the Global Diversity Export Initiative is an initiative where that we put in place so that we can market what we do to diverse business groups. And in this setting, you know, having this conference at Alabama A&M and working with MBDA, those are key partners for us so that we can make sure that the target audience is getting this information and utilizing it with your business plans. So within this group, we are looking to work with minority businesses. So that's Black owned, Asian owned, Native American, Latinx, you name it. We want to work with those groups of business organizations and stakeholders, as well as women owned businesses, veteran owned, LGBTQI+, as well as disabled. So it really is trying to make sure we're getting that message out widely and that organizations know who we are and what we do. So why does it matter? Exports do matter because I said previously, it says more than 70% of the world's purchasing power is outside of the US, but I think we use the statistic 95% of consumers are outside of the US. So it's a great opportunity, depending on what type of product or service that you have, to be looking outside of the US for your customers and to expand. And just to give you an overview of like what other countries do. So the US government, I mean, not the US government, the US economy, we export about 12% of our GDP is exports. But where if you look at some of our competing countries like the UK or Germany, Korea, China, those numbers are much higher. So the companies in those countries export a lot more than the US does based on GDP. So what we seek to do in the US commercial service is to help more US companies sell their products overseas. We work with about 31,000 exporters every year, and most of those are classified as small and medium-sized businesses. So if you think about the work that we do, the big guys don't come to us, or if they come to us for advocacy, support, government to government type issues. But really the work that we do is to help small and medium-sized companies. So if you think, oh, well, my company's too small for that, that's not the case at all. Most of the companies that we work with are small companies. And this is just to give you an idea of non-minority companies that export. This is a census report that they put out. The latest numbers that they had when I put this together was in 2018. But about 130,000 companies that are non-minority export compared to about 28,500. So you see there's a big gap in terms of minority and non-minority. And then when that's broken down by women-owned versus men-owned companies, also Hispanic versus non-Hispanic, you can see that they have numbers on that. And also veterans that own businesses versus non-veterans. So there's huge gaps there. And so with the Global Diversity Export Initiative, we seek to close those gaps and work with more companies and getting them into the international market. So just a real quick overview of who we are. We are the federal government. Like I said, we're in the same agency. The International Trade Administration is the same agency as MBDA. And we have a global footprint. We are located throughout the US in over 100 cities, and then also in our embassies and consulates around the world. And we're definitely about results. So we want to help companies do transactions. We want to help companies sell their products, sell their services. At the end of the year, what Congress looks for when they come to us and want to know what have we done is how many companies have we helped and where have we helped them sell to. So all of that is important. And we have 4 different core competencies of what we do. As an organization, the main thing is export counseling. So companies come to us and they're just looking to get to understand what they need to do for a particular market, or understand how they can leverage resources for their particular industry. So in this case, in agricultural or energy, those are 2 major industry sectors for the US economy. So we do a lot of work in those spaces. We also publish market intelligence. We have country commercial guides. We have industry sector guides. All of that is found on our website. It's free of charge. You can go and pull that information if you want to know what's happening in a specific country, and even what's happening in a specific country by a specific industry. All of that information is available on trade.gov. The other thing that we're known the most for is our business matchmaking. And the service that folks use us for is called the Gold Key service. Pre-COVID, most of the services that we did was Gold Key. And Gold Key is where you're planning to go to a country, you're getting on a plane, you're going over, and you want to meet with potential business partners, whether it's a distributor or a potential joint venture partner or whatever it is that you might be searching for in that particular market. Our offices on the ground would help to find you that potential partners, and set up the meetings for you. So when you fly in, you already have meetings set up that can help assist you with growing or expanding in that market. That's probably the most popular service, but obviously with COVID, people weren't able to fly. Folks weren't traveling. So we moved all those services virtually and online. And so we do a lot of virtual introductions and helping organizations find potential partners that way. And then we do a number of other things when we do business matchmaking. We work at trade shows, both domestically and internationally, where we do business matchmaking there to match you with, not to match you per se, but to connect you with foreign buyers, while you're at the show. We also do help you do due diligence. So say, for instance, you're being contacted by a potential customer or someone who wants to partner with you, but you have no idea who they are. You don't really know if they're a legitimate company or not. We can help you with that due diligence as well. A lot of those services that I just described are fee-based services, and I'll go through them more in depth and tell you the names and all of that. But that's probably what companies, especially small companies, small and medium-sized companies, use us for the most. And they like to say we're the best kept secret in government, and it's not something that we aspire to be. But a lot of times companies use us to expand, and they don't want their competitors to know, well, yeah, we use the US government to help us. So that's why it's important for us to get out and get the word out and say, yeah, we do this kind of work. If you're really looking at trying to expand your business, then definitely use the US government to help you. The last thing of our core competencies is commercial diplomacy. And that is if you are looking to sell your product or your service to a foreign government, and you're trying to get a contract with them, our offices can step in and help support you, especially if you're the only US company that's bidding on a project. We will use the tools that the US government has, whether it could be from the White House all the way down to advocate for an American business getting a project overseas. And so that is a really good service that we provide, and a lot of companies use that when they're going after foreign projects. So on the next slide, these next few slides, I just go into more in depth about what I just talked about. With the export counseling, any company can call us up or send us an email, and I'll show you how to contact us and ask for support in developing their international business plan. So whether or not you're looking just to talk to somebody to see if what you're trying to do makes sense, or if it's been done before, or just what kind of support can the U.S. government provide you. You can reach out to your local U.S. Export Assistance Center. And in Alabama, we have an office in Birmingham, but you can reach out to them and they can support you with developing what you're trying to achieve. I also included the e-commerce innovation lab on this. And this is because a lot of companies are going global just by having a really savvy website, and they're attracting customers from around the world. So we provide tools and support to help you with marketing yourself digitally. And whether or not you sell by e-commerce, whether you're selling online or on a platform like a Amazon or any of the other foreign platforms that are out there, you need to have a digital strategy for your business, because every company needs a digital strategy in this day and age. So we try to provide those types of tools and information to help you. The other thing, market intelligence, that I just went over, country commercial guide is probably one of our biggest assets that we have that's on our website. Is easily accessible. It's updated every year, and it gives you a snapshot of what's going on in a country. So if there's a particular country that you're interested in, you can go on to our website and pull the country commercial guide and see what the folks on the ground are saying about the opportunities in that particular market. We also do, and that's free of charge. There's no charge for that. Some of these other services, like the initial market check, like say, for instance, you're interested in a market, but you're not really sure it's a good market for you, you could do an initial market check where our folks will go out and talk to people on the ground and see if your product or your service is a good fit for that market. And then if they do determine that it's a good fit, then they can turn it into a gold key or another service where you can meet with potential partners. The international company profile is what I described as your due diligence. If you're looking to get background information or make sure that someone that you're currently corresponding with is a good fit for you, then you can do that international company profile and make sure there's no pending lawsuits, or just to get a feel for what their reputation is in the market before you go into a formal agreement with a company. And then there's customized market research. We do that a lot less because it takes a lot of time and manpower to do customized market research reports. But if you have, there is a possibility to get that as well. Under business matchmaking, I described to you the Gold Key service, which I think is probably our flagship service that we have. But we also have other services where you can do an international partner search. Whereas, for instance, if the Gold Key service basically became an international partner search during the pandemic, but the international partner search was a way for us to find prospective partners for you, but you were not planning to travel to the market, but you wanted to find potential partners and then follow up with them virtually. You could do it by, obviously now everybody uses Zoom or Teams or whatever platforms. Back then we were all talking about Skype. I don't even think anybody says Skype anymore. But anyway, so that was a way for you to follow up with potential partners, but not actually get on a plane. And a lot of companies either don't have the resources or maybe don't want to travel to a particular market, but you could still find business partners. And in this virtual environment, you truly can be global. You don't have to get on a plane. You can just, you can Zoom with somebody. We also have something called a single company promotion. That's another service that we do in country where, say, for instance, you have a partner on the ground or you're already doing business in a particular market and you want to just expand your presence. You want to have, it's a trade show for one business, which is yours, where you can highlight and showcase who you are, what you do. We do that with our embassy colleagues, where they would either do it at the ambassador's home, or they could do it at a hotel, at someplace really nice. And then you would they would help to invite the audience in, so that could highlight who you are as a business and to really give you the credibility that you would need in a country, and to show that you're serious about the market, and to help grow and expand your presence there. So we do that a lot for companies as they're trying to, have a bigger presence in a market. And then we do business service provider listings, and that's if you're a service provider and you're trying to reach the exporters. You can feature your business on our trade.gov website, and you could do it by country. And that way, like say for instance, if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, or you have specific services like freight forwarding services, things like that, where exporters, you would want to service the exporters, then you could list your company in the business service provider listing, and it's a nominal fee on a yearly basis, and they'll update that and review it every year so that it can stay current on the websites. And a lot of companies do that along with the featured U.S. exporter listing, not as a way to really drum up business, because there's sometimes we'll refer to the business service provider listings, and a company comes to me and they say, hey, we're looking for XYZ. I'll use that to refer them to companies. But the real value behind listing yourself on our website is your search engine optimization for your website. And it's a great strategy for if you're trying to get higher, and if someone is doing a search for your type of product or your service, if you're connected to a government website that scores you higher for search engine optimization. So a lot of times when we're helping companies figure out their digital strategy, we'll tell them, look, you want to have some trade.gov links or backlinks on your site, because it helps to give you better results and people can find you digitally. Okay, so the other thing is trade events, and I talked a little bit about that. We do both domestic trade events and foreign trade events. So we have a program, we used to call it an international buyer program, and that's where it's domestic shows. And what we do is we recruit delegations to come to that domestic show that's in Vegas or Chicago or Atlanta or Orlando, depending on the industry sector, Houston for energy. We have our colleagues overseas will bring the buyers that are looking to buy U.S. product and services. We also do international trade fairs. So if there's an international show, a lot of the major ones we have a presence at, and we support the U.S. companies that are exhibiting or attending those shows. And there's a lot of matchmaking that we do and preparation, pre-show preparation, and also on the ground, and also afterwards following up. We also do trade missions. You can get a certified trade mission where your organization, if you put together a trade mission and you want to have that stamp of approval from the Commerce Department, and then also get support on the ground for your trade mission, we can certify your trade mission and help provide you with resources and whatnot to be successful. And then I just want to mention, we do 2 flagship conferences. One is called Discover Global Markets. Discover Global Markets is a conference that we do domestically, and it moves around the country. We just had one in Rhode Island late last month, and that focused on the blue economy, so a lot of marine technology and things of that nature. And then we typically do those about once or twice a year in different parts of the country, and we'll feature different industry sectors, or we'll feature different regions of the world. So we've had Discover Global Markets Europe, Discover Global Markets Asia, or Middle East and Africa, or Western Hemisphere. So we have it regionally, or we'll have something that's just based on design and construction or energy, or I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I think the last one we did that was the industry sector one, was advanced manufacturing, and I want to say in Indianapolis. So we move those conferences around the country, and that's an opportunity for you to learn about what's happening in that particular industry sector or region, and then also meet with our commercial officers that fly in from overseas to meet one-on-one with businesses. And then the other conference we have is called Trade Winds. Trade Winds is something that happens overseas, and we move it around to different countries around the world. We had it this year that Keith participated in Dubai, and that focused on the Middle East and Africa region. And it's every industry sector, every type of company that you could think of participated in Trade Winds. It also has a trade mission component to it, where we do B2B meetings in countries in the region. And then there's a business forum. The business forum took place in Dubai. And that's a really great way for you to get exposure for your company, and also meet contacts on the ground and in the region. We've announced the Trade Winds coming up for 2023, and that's going to be taking place in Bangkok, Thailand, and we're going to be focused on the Southeast Asia region. And so there's spinoff B2B opportunities in Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, and I think one or two more other markets. And so if that's a region that you're targeting, then I would highly encourage you to participate in Trade Winds. And now is the time to register because it sells out. Because companies know about this. It's a great opportunity. It's a great way to, it's a very cost-effective way for you to promote yourself and to go into a new market with the U.S. government as your partner and backing you with your expansion. Okay, so moving along, I won't spend too much time on the Advocacy Center, but again, that is with commercial diplomacy, that is if you're trying to sell to a foreign government and you want our government, the U.S. government, to advocate for you to get a contract or to get us to win a bid with a foreign government. So we have a whole office back in Washington, and that's what they do. And they do that for large companies on down. So you're not too small if you're thinking, oh, well, that's something that only like a Boeing would use. But a lot of small and medium-sized companies use this service to help them compete against other foreign companies that are also going after the same opportunities. I mentioned the e-commerce innovation lab, and if you go to trade.gov/e-commerce, you'll see all the different resources that we have. There's recorded webinars, there are various different resources, and also business service providers that can help you with your website. You know, having a very good website is so important if you're trying to do international business, because usually that's the first step where people will find you. So if you go to this website, you can get a lot of those resources that can help you with developing a website that is for an international audience. And we have a service that we charge a small fee for. It's called a Website Globalization Review. And that's where we'll go in and we'll do a thorough analysis of your website and give you key points that you can do, tweaks that you can make so that international buyers and the search engines overseas can pick up your website when folks are searching for your type of product. Just some other federal resources that are out there, because I think as great as Keith did with organizing this conference, he couldn't possibly have all of us attend at the same time, but you're already familiar with MBDA and the work that they do, the Minority Business Development Agency. But there's also Ex-Im Bank, which is a very important part of the whole export process. I tell every company you must know about Ex-Im Bank because they can provide you with export credit insurance, and that basically insures your shipments, insures the services that you're providing, so that if your foreign buyer doesn't pay, they will back that transaction. And then there's a Small Business Administration who has an Office of International Trade, which also has various different services and financing opportunities for you. There's also the United Nations procurement opportunities. United Nations is based in New York, but you can sell if you work with the United Nations, you can sell around the world just through the United Nations. And sometimes that's a lot safer of an opportunity. And then there's the World Bank and multilateral development banks. Those are also a lot safer opportunities for pursuing export opportunities around the world. And then there's also the U.S. Trade Development Agency, which is an agency that will help fund feasibility studies if you're looking at doing a project overseas and you need support. And then there's the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, which is another great agency that helps to fund projects. So if you're looking at building schools or building a hospital or building a processing plant or building whatever you're trying to do overseas in an international market, you want to make sure you are leveraging all of these tools. I talk to people all the time and I'm like, oh, well, did you use USTDA to help fund your feasibility study? And they had no idea that USTDA existed. And I'm like, but they will give you money to do the feasibility study. So you want to make sure you're leveraging these resources, because I always tell people these are your tax-paying dollars at work. These are organizations that have been set up to help U.S. companies succeed, not just domestically, but in the international and global arena. Okay, I think I'm almost at the end here. We do have a GDEI website that I try to continuously post information about activities that we're doing that's specifically for our target audience of minority or women-owned or veteran-owned businesses. So you can visit that website. We do have an intake form if you're interested in speaking with someone in your area that is local to you. You can fill out that form that comes directly to me, and then I feed that out to whoever the local person is to follow up with you and get more information about your business, what you're trying to accomplish, and how can we support you. And then lastly, that's my contact information. That's my email address. I try to be fancy and put a QR code on there. But you can reach out by email. I do respond. Sometimes it might take me a minute, but I do respond and try to do whatever we can to support your business or support your organization with expanding internationally. And with that, I feel like I took a lot of time. I spoke for a long time, and I see Keith on. So if there are any questions or anything, and Melvin, I'm not sure if there's any other speakers that have joined us, but I'm happy to take questions.
There's a couple of questions, and excellent job, okay, as usual. One question, and I had a question and another person had the same question. Let's say if I'm selling a line of coloring books, is that too small for international, your services? Or coloring books for ages 3 to 5?
I wouldn't say it's too small. I know there's a printing and publishing show that takes place there's one that takes place in New York, and there's one that takes place, I want to say it's in like Italy or somewhere, like the major shows that happen around the world. And so I have colleagues who worked in that space. So no, it's not too small. I think you just have to find out like what are the right channels that you need to leverage so that you can get that. Maybe you're going to have to translate it into other languages so that you can reach different target audiences. But we do have we have a media and entertainment team, and they cover publishing. So no, it's not too small. I think it's just a matter asking us. I think I got muted. You just need to talk to someone on our team that can help navigate you through that.
Very good. Thank you. Mm-hmm. That's and the slides will be available if someone asks that question, but that's all.
Yes. Yes. I will email this to you, Melvin and Keith, and you guys can make it available.
Very good.
Hey, Melvin. Yeah.
You guys have an echo. Keith, we can't hear you.
Okay.
I don't know. Are you guys in the same room, Melvin?
I'm in DC. He's in Huntsville.
I wonder why there's an echo. That's interesting. Okay.
So, okay. Terry?
Yep, I'm here. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Greetings from Alabama A&M University.
I love it. Thank you.
a place where you will come to with the ITA team. Dr. Teresa Rock and I are sitting here strategizing now about how to bring the Chamber of Commerce as well as international trade and the Small Business Agency here to Huntsville, Alabama, to carry on this conversation, to continue to ensure that our minority farmers and MBEs literally continue to scale, not only with knowledge, but opportunity to literally tap into the resources, and we help them, right? You know, that's what we do. Right. Ron Uba is on the line on speaker. Ron, were you able to log in?
Upload in web portal, so I'm sorry.
Okay. Ron is not going to be able to log in, but he is with us. So let me just ask a couple questions that's in the chat. One was actually 3. One is how small, well, let's talk about the Gold Key. Can you expound upon that Gold Key service as to what's really needed and how can one be eligible versus probably not ready?
Right. So Gold Key service, let me just start by saying this. It is like our premier service. Okay. Companies that know who we are, they use the Gold Key service. And our posts do get busy. So a lot of times sometimes people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, Terry, I'm traveling to Ghana next week. Can you connect me with your office? Can they set up some appointments? And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. So usually for a Gold Key service, our offices need about 6 to 8 weeks notice, at least. Sometimes, depending on how busy the market is, they might need longer. They might push it back out 3 months or 6 months. So it's not something that you get on the fly, and then our offices will be able to just miraculously set these meetings up. They need to go out and they need to do their homework. They need to understand what your business is, what your value proposition is for the market, if it is a good fit for the market. So what we would do is we would talk to the company and we would understand who they are and have our overseas colleagues on the line as well. They will go and do some homework on their end to see if they have the right contacts. And if they feel like they can set you up with some good prospects, then they will do the Gold Key for it. They would initiate that. And what that process entails is you pay a fee. The Gold Key service is about
Terry?
It's about $750 for a small company. If you're a medium-sized company, meaning you have, I can't remember what mediums. It's SBA guidelines, but it's a tiered fee. Whereas if you're a small company, it's about $750. A medium size, I want to say it's like $1,300 or $1,500. If you're a big company, it's like $2,500. So it ranges. I think someone put in the chat about travel costs. Like, is there any assistance for that?
Right.
And depending on the state that you're in, the states have something called a STEP program. And STEP is a program, it's like state expansion something. I can't remember what it means, but it's money that SBA has given the state governments so that they can provide support, whether it's doing a trade show or doing a service with commerce or any type of expenses that you would incur with trying to expand internationally. You can get reimbursed, either all of it or a portion. And it really depends on the state that you're in. And so I'm not sure where the callers are calling in from, like what state, but
all over in the
okay, so you would have to figure out, like, you know what I could do, and I did this yesterday with someone. I'll put the link in the chat, and depending on your state, you can look at how much money your state got, because each state applies for this funds, and some states got a lot of money, some states got a little bit of money. So and they also has a contact person for that state. You would reach out to them and see what type of reimbursement they have.
Terry, on that note, I hope you've downloaded the Hoover app, because
I do have it. Yeah.
Okay, so that is, I think I saw your profile. You are now a part of the family, and the family that exchanges information together will stay together. Okay. Literally designed. You want to do your own personal evaluation of your chat and it conversion rate to ultimate success for businesses, because that's what we're doing. We're very intentional about this community. And so welcome to the community, and post this discussion and event, we want you to be, our international champion. I know how much you personally believe in minority business, particularly in the agricultural space. So can you, there was one more question, and I think Rendell had a question, but I lost it. Melvin, do you have those two questions that haven't been asked yet?
You might have missed it.
We addressed them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've been asked.
All right. So lastly, two things. One, why don't you tell the audience what we did with ITA in Dubai, and now that we know that we're going to Southeast Asia, how that benefited from those. I mean, it's a recruitment promotion opportunity for you to talk about.
It is a recruitment promotion. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So just so folks know, so back in March, I was actually on detail at MBDA. I kind of did a half, I split my time between MBDA and ITA.
You were a bridge loan.
I was on loan to MBDA, and that's how I met Keith. And Keith, even though he's a federal procurement center and not one of the export centers with MBDA, Keith would raise his hand and said, "Terry, we're coming to Dubai." And I was like, "Really, Keith?" But Keith has been able to convince me the reason why he's in this conversation. And I think it's really important to know why. Why am I here? Because this is about government contracts, right? You guys are talking about domestic business, which is a key, which is important. But while you're pursuing your domestic business, you should also be thinking global. And Keith educated me and said, these companies that are going after these $1 million contracts with the federal government, these are the same companies that should be looking at $1 million contracts overseas with foreign governments, and also will have the capacity to go after international opportunities. And like I said earlier, you shouldn't wait till you're at a certain level and then say, okay, now I'm going to start looking at international. You really should have international in the back of your mind as you're developing your business. Because if you really want to have a sustained business and you really want to make, to grow your business, you've got to look at the global markets. You've got to look international outside of the US borders, because there's so much more, there's a lot, the US is a great market, but there's so much more outside of our borders. So back in March, we did, like I said, the trade winds in Dubai. Keith came along and he brought Timothy, and I don't know if Timothy's on. And one of the things that they did, which was really great, they recorded a lot of the participants. They got testimonials from them. And we did something at Trade Winds in Dubai that we'd never done before. And that was, we had a women's empowerment program, and we called it WELTY. It stands for Women Empowered Leave Legacies Through Trade and Investment. And that really is the brainchild and baby of our Deputy Assistant Secretary, Camille Richardson, who championed that and really wanted to bring women together and support women doing business, of all places, in the Middle East, Middle East and Africa. I think here in the US, we have probably a skewed, I won't say probably, we have a skewed vision of what's happening in that region. Whereas the women that came, that were in Dubai, and they were able to meet with women there were women there from Saudi Arabia, from Morocco, from Algeria, I can't even remember. There was like 6 different countries that were represented. And those women were all dynamic and doing great things in their countries to support not only just women in general, but just to be business owners. And so we were able to match them with women that came from the US. And it was a lot of great dialogue that took place. There's been partnerships that have been born out of that. Someone asked earlier about the coloring book. I never discourage people about whatever their business is. There's always a possibility for what you can do. There was a lady who was there. She was from Atlanta, and she has a coaching business, like a women empowerment business, or girls empowerment business. And she created a curriculum to help girls learn how to invest. And she came, and that's not our typical kind of client that we work with, but she came and she connected with other women. There was a woman there from Morocco who empowers girls in Morocco to do coding and do things like robotics and things like that, And so the two of them connected, and now she's in the process of forming a partnership with her business that's based in Atlanta and this woman who's based in Morocco, where she's providing her girls empowerment type programming and also curriculum. That lady had brought a group of girls over to the US for a robotics competition. She flew to meet them and did a whole empowerment session with these young girls. And that all stemmed from just her being in Dubai. So I always say, there's always possibilities. You just never know. You never know who you're going to meet when you get on the ground, when you go, when you get in country. So I encourage folks to travel. I know we're still kind of in COVID, but people are getting out and traveling. I know I'm traveling a lot more, but definitely look at the possibilities, and whatever we can do, whatever I can do with GDEI in terms of encouraging more businesses, especially businesses Black and brown businesses to get in the game in international trade. That's my job. That's what I'm trying to do, trying to make sure that this is not a secret. This is what we've been around for 30 something years. I think our organization started in 1980. So that's more than 30 years, 40 years, maybe 50 years. I don't know, 40 years. We've been around for 40 plus years of promoting US companies internationally. So I just want to encourage the folks that are listening, definitely take advantage of us. And a lot of people, even companies, don't know because they don't realize that the US government does this kind of work, and we do. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to realize that you're in a conversation of progress that really dates back to the impact that we had when we first started IAEOZ in 2020. And that was with COVID and the constraints that it has presented. And I can tell you that it was the online community of the International Trade Agency folks who, because of COVID, were leaning on, as well as all of us are, on the online experience to get the word out. And, you know, maybe even a couple of you fall prey to what you might be doing now, even in this recording. But Terry and her co-workers were finishing up an hour-long presentation, and I had to take a call that didn't allow me to really participate physically and actively until the end, when they were saying, hey, that was a great session. We are at the International Trade Agency, the world's best kept secret, and we don't want to be that. And that, frankly, was my stimulation to make sure that all of our media resources, podcasts and open government TV and what works online was a part of, you know, helping to inspire these kind of dialogues. So Terry, please make sure all of your colleagues at ITA know that we have an online community called Hoover that we will be scaling and sustaining. And we're going to work together to be able to review metrics of success that we probably couldn't have conceived of. And I want to really thank you for your perseverance and your spirit of perseverance. There's Rendell Naper. Hello, how are you, Rendell? Rendell's been with us since our first experience with Alabama A&M, where we did a capacity building forum on what works to access capital for MBEs and HBCUs in opportunity zones. And he's asking a question: do you have a needs list for countries like RFPs?
It depends.
Yeah. Okay.
We do get like hot, what we call off the press trade leads, which usually I always tell companies, if you get a trade lead from the US government, it's too late.
Yeah, right. That's right.
It's too late.
It's not funny, but it's real.
But it's true. It's true, because the companies that are on the ground, they know what's happening in the markets.
Right.
And so it's not a good strategy to wait for us to send you a trade lead or an RFP. It's just not. What I would say is you want to connect in with the World Bank. You want to connect in with some of these organizations that I had listed in the presentation. I didn't list all of the multilateral development banks, but there's an African Development Bank.
Yes.
There's the Inter-American Development Bank. There's an Asian Development Bank. There's a European, it's not called Development Bank, it's called European Bank for Reconstruction or something like that. It's mostly for Eastern Europe. There's all of these, what we call multilateral development banks, and they do publish the things that they're funding. And what they do is they fund for the foreign governments to do like infrastructure projects or provide whatever type services or programs or whatever they might be offering. So I would say you want to get really familiar with those, and along with the World Bank as well. You want to get really familiar with those banks, and then you can kind of keep an eye out for when they're searching for specific, whether it's consulting services or they're searching for particular types of products. And there are companies that are trading companies that's what they do. They know when they're looking, they issued an RFP for something random, and then they go and they'll knock on a U.S. company's door that produces that particular product or can provide that and try to broker those deals.
Mm-hmm.
that is a particular business strategy. But it's tough. That's not something like, oh, I'm going to go set up a business and broker trade deals. You really got to know what you're doing. So I will say that there's not like this magic list that's out there. And, you know, sometimes we have people come to us and they're like, well, I want to export. And so I ask them, well, what do you want to export? They want me to tell them what they should export. And then they ask, well, where should I export to? And we have no magic ball. I'll tell you that.
Until we create that. And this is it. And
yeah, well, even that's tough. That's tough. So I will just say, if you have a product or a service, it doesn't have to be a product, and you need to know who you are and what you do and what is your value proposition as a business. You can then come to us, even if you don't know exactly where you want to go. We might be able to help you narrow down where you should be looking based on what you offer. And then we can take it from there. But a lot of times companies, they come to us and they know their business. We do not know your business. You know, they know what they offer. They know what the value of what they do. And then we can help them translate that into an international market or international success. So I would say start by knowing what you have access to and what you're trying to sell. And then on the back end, you can figure out, okay, I know that these countries, and you can always check trade statistics. I know that these countries are importing the type of product that I provide, or the type of service that I provide. I know that they import from the US. Or if you are even globally minded already, maybe you have access to products from another country and you're trying to find buyers for them. Now, we don't help with that. The US government won't help you sell a product from another country. We do have a 51% US requirement to support companies that, you know, that have it. We have to support US jobs. We're not supporting Chinese jobs or other countries' jobs. But if you have a good grasp of what you're selling, then that's the place to start, and then look for the opportunities. So hopefully that answered your question, Raydell.
Yeah, Terry, let me expound upon that because as you know, and I'm looking forward to post IAEOZ Summit 2022, us working even more closely with our partnership with IEEE Smart Village, because once you dive into that partnership, you will see that we have boots on the ground in country, particularly in Africa, Latin America, and North America, of businesses who are there that can partner with US firms. And secondly, you've met Bai Blyden, and I really encourage you to be at our fireside chat because you're going to see Bai Blyden and Lonnie Johnson talk about energy. Oh, your favorite, I forgot the photo. And you're going to see how the audience really can move their ideas and their innovations, particularly as they focus on the sector. Today, we're more heavily involved with energy. And energy is the alternatives, whether it's solar or energy storage, batteries, and the application of it, which brings a global opportunity for MBEs and those larger businesses. So this is a conversation we're continuing, we're happy to have. And then lastly, of course, we at the center and our center to center shared outcome agreements. I'll introduce, you can't see her on the screen, but she's here sitting with us, Chicago operator Terry Simmons.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I know Terry.
And you will, I think a good example is one of her, what's the sweet cupcakes? Silver Spoon Desserts, woman-owned bakery, if you will, manufacturer, who has a $13 million contract with American Airlines and expanding to organizations like Starbucks. And we are, with our center to center shared outcome agreement, are going to be bringing our food processing companies to her, like selling butter, you know, you can't bake cakes without butter, can you? Okay, sugar. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please begin to look at the puzzle that it is and the pieces that we are applying to make the puzzle so much easier for you to ultimately be successful. And the value of getting government contracts to boost and scale your revenues so that you have an organizational competency capacity to do international work, okay, is what this conversation is all about. And Ron Uber, I thank you for listening. I'm sorry you can't be a part of us given the time constraints, but this conversation has been amazingly good. And I'm seeing 3 other questions. Producer would like to, okay, went to World Bank IMF fall meeting last week. Producers would like to, okay. Great answers, great answers. Thank you, Redell.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if he was at their fall conference, and he was at the right place. And
Okay.
we have a U.S. representative, our U.S. executive director to the World Bank. That's right there in Washington, D.C. I'm not sure where he's based, but we have a liaison at the bank. And their job is to help you navigate through and find those opportunities to work with the World Bank. And you work with the World Bank, you can literally work around the globe, and they have a number of different programs and projects and whatnot that they're supporting, especially in the ag business. You know, they do a lot of we explored this earlier with Keith, a lot of like famine alleviation type work, especially dealing with the Ukraine situation, and that impact that it's had on Africa. There's a lot there that the World Bank is doing. So if you were at their meeting, that was the place to be in terms of getting the information and understanding how to work their system so that you can be a vendor or sell through the World Bank to reach these international markets.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be introducing you all to a 8A contractor minority business who has $100 million BAA with USAID to provide services, both technology and even foods, to Ukraine. And that's a very targeted one. I think I mentioned that to you, Terry, and we will drill down on that relationship such that we can make some things happen over the next year. And thank you so much for your interest in the ag space, particularly with the minority farmers. This has been a wonderful conversation, which I expected to have no less than. And I think Melvin, can you tell us where to find Crystal Broomfield to make sure that no one misses her presentation, which we pre-recorded?
Yes, I just sent out a notice that attached to this session is Crystal's pre-recorded video. So you can view it at any time when you visit this session.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here in Alabama, but on my way to Tennessee because GSA has put together a pilot for HBCUs, and they want HBCUs to become GSA ready and to be able to get on the GSA schedule. So that's a continuous commitment that the administration across the board, from agency to agency, as you heard yesterday, is in making sure that our small disadvantaged businesses are fully equipped, as well as our HBCUs. And we know that that's going to require a lot of capacity building. So that's what we are in the business for. That's what we do as centers. And that's why we don't want to handle this all ourselves. And when we talk about export, import, we're happy to have our friends at San Antonio, Texas, which has an export center. Let me see. Who else do we have as a center to center that is, we work with North Carolina. But who are the export centers, Terry? There's 3 others.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's 4 export centers. One is in Miami, Florida.
Miami.
There's Houston, Texas, San Antonio, and Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix.
And you can see the sun has risen here in LA now, so it's bright outside.
That's why I really just love Terry. She will get up in the morning for a call from Keith and the IAEOZ team.
Yeah, Keith, we'll talk about that offline. I'm like, really? 6:45. Only Keith can get me
No,
up.
no, I didn't do it. I didn't have, the final agenda is not me. I'm just here. Thank you, Terry.
That's all right. I'm happy to be here and happy to be of service. So you just keep me posted in terms of what this community needs and how we can support. And we'll go from there. And I
Tell your
thank
team
you.
to tell your team to load up with us and join us on Hoover. And we will see you
Okay.
soon.
All right, great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Terry Batch, Ron Uba, and Crystal Broomfield for an amazing session. Thank you so
All
much,
right. And
ladies.
I'm on Hoover, so folks can reach out to me on that.
She's
or they
on
can reach out-
Hoover.
Or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, whichever. And then I also gave them my email address. So
Hoover's a
however-
little bit more personal. All right.
Yeah,
It's-
it is a little bit. Yeah.
It's a
But I
community
have
that
it.
we're building. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
All
Well,
right.
keep up the great work, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you.